In the name of God, the most compassionate, the all-merciful. Dearly loved friends, fellow servants in the cause of the blessed beauty, today let us embark on a spiritual investigation. Let us turn our minds and hearts to a theme of immense importance for our time: the relationship between how we think, how we govern ourselves, and how we build a world that mirrors the divine justice and unity heralded by all the manifestations of God. And now, for this age, by Bahá'u'lláh. We live in a world of profound contradiction. We witness staggering wealth alongside crushing poverty. We see the brilliant potential of human ingenuity too often turned to the engines of conflict and exploitation. We are inundated with information, yet wisdom seems so scarce. In such a time, how are we to understand the world? How are we to separate truth from falsehood, justice from oppression, and progress from mere change? The writings of our faith provide our ultimate compass, but they also call upon us to use our God-given reason. Abdul-Baha, our perfect exemplar, stated, "The gift of reason is the most noble of human endowments. It is this sacred faculty we must engage." There exists in the world a mode of analysis, a way of looking at society, that urges us to look beyond surface events. It asks us to inquire into the very foundations of our collective life, how we organize the production of the material goods upon which all depend. It suggests that this economic foundation profoundly shapes our laws, our culture, and even our unconscious assumptions about what is normal and right. It identifies the chasm between the wealthy and the impoverished not as a natural law, but as a source of societal illness and conflict. Does this not resonate with the thunderous pronouncements of our faith? Bahá'u'lláh himself has revealed, the civilization, so often vaunted by the learned exponents of arts and sciences, will, if allowed to overleap the bounds of moderation, bring great evil upon men. He warns against a material civilization divorced from spirit. And consider the piercing words on economics. No light can compare with the light of justice. The establishment of order in the world and the tranquility of the nations depend upon it. The extremes of wealth and poverty are not merely an economic problem. They are a profound spiritual crisis, a negation of the oneness of humanity. They create a system where, as Abdul-Baha said, some are in the utmost luxury, while others are in the extreme of misery. This condition, he unequivocally stated, is far from the mercy of God. This same analytical spirit speaks of a feeling of deep disconnection, where human beings become estranged from the fruits of their labor, where work is not a source of joy and service, but a mere transaction for survival, and where competition shreds the bonds of community. Contrast this with the Baha'i vision of work as worship. Abdul-Baha tells us, all effort and exertion put forth by man from the fullness of his heart is worship, if it is prompted by the highest motives and the will to do service to humanity. The Baha'i economic model, yet to be fully realized, is not one of ruthless competition, but of cooperation, not of exploitation, but of profit-sharing and trusteeship. It seeks to create a system where, in the words of the Master, each one of you must have great concern for the comfort and welfare of all the others. This mode of thought ultimately believes that systems built on such internal contradiction cannot last. They contain the seeds of their own transformation. It envisions a future where society is reorganized on a cooperative basis for the common good. Is this not the very destiny of humanity, as promised by Bahá'u'lláh? We are not called to a revolution of violence, but to a spiritual transformation that will give birth to a new world order. Shaghai Effendi, our beloved guardian, outlined this destiny. A world commonwealth, a divine economy, where the fury of a capricious and militant nationalism will have been transmuted into an abiding consciousness of world citizenship. This is the ultimate resolution of the world's economic and social strife, not through class conflict, but through the conscious, collective application of the divine teachings. But how do we get there? This is where the second great God-given faculty comes in, the capacity for critical thought. The principles of critical thinking are, in essence, a spiritual discipline for the mind. They are the practical tools by which we can achieve the independent investigation of truth. Let us consider them. Clarity and precision. We must strive for clear understanding, cutting through vague and emotionally charged language. For is not God the ultimate truth? The essence of all that we have revealed for thee, Bahá'u'lláh affirms, is justice. Evaluation of evidence. We are not to accept claims based on authority or tradition alone. We must ask, is it true? Is it logical? Is it based on sound evidence? This is the very antithesis of blind imitation. Open-mindedness and fairness. We must be willing to consider new ideas and represent opposing views with charity and accuracy. This is the foundation of consultation, the magnet of divine confirmations. Thinking about our own thinking, metacognition. We must be aware of our own biases and assumptions. This is a form of spiritual humility, recognizing that our understanding is limited and we must constantly strive to refine it. Now, beloved friends, see the magnificent synergy. These tools of critical thinking are the essential engines for a functioning democracy and for building a Baha'i-inspired society. The democratic ideal holds that legitimacy comes from the consent of the governed. But what is the value of that consent if the governed are misinformed, manipulated, and unable to discern truth? A democratic society requires citizens who can analyze the messages of politicians and media, who can identify bias and logical fallacy. It requires what the Guardian called an enlightened citizenry. The Baha'i principle of consultation takes this even further. It is critical thinking applied in a spirit of love and detachment. It requires us to clearly state our views, to examine all evidence, to evaluate the reasoning of others without prejudice, and to synthesize a new position that is better than any individual's original idea. This is not a win-lose debate. It is a collective exercise in seeking truth, a spiritual practice that builds unity. Tolerance in a diverse society is not merely about putting up with others. Critical thinking, coupled with the Baha'i principle of the oneness of humanity, pushes us to genuinely strive to understand other perspectives. It moves tolerance from a passive act to an engaged, empathetic, and rational process. It is the means by which we achieve unity in diversity. And crucially, these tools of critical thought are the vital check on all systems of thought, including the very one we began with. They prevent any analysis from becoming a rigid, unchallengeable dogma. We are called to use our reason not just to analyze the world, but to continuously test and refine our own understanding against the standard of divine truth and the evolving needs of humanity. This ensures that our search for justice is always alive, always growing, and never becomes another superstructure of oppression. The ultimate goal of both this analytical spirit and the discipline of critical thought is emancipation. Critical thinking seeks to free the mind from error, prejudice, and dogma. The drive for economic justice seeks to free society from structures of oppression and want. And the revelation of Bahá'u'lláh fulfills and transcends them both. It is the divine power that liberates the soul. It provides the spiritual foundation, the love of God, the oneness of humanity, the harmony of science and religion, upon which a just society can truly be built. It takes the tool of critical thought and ennobles it with the spirit of faith. It takes the yearning for economic justice and provides the divine blueprint for its establishment. Through spiritual principles like trusteeship, the elimination of extremes, and the law of huquq. Therefore, let us be fearless investigators. Let us use our reason to scrutinize the world and its problems. Let us apply the sharp tools of critical thought to our own assumptions and to the structures of society. But let us do so with our hearts turned to Bahá'u'lláh, guided by his eternal teachings. Let us work to build a world where the economy is divine, where thought is enlightened, and where the relationships between all people reflect the mercy and justice of our Creator. For in the end, our work is not to critique the world, but to build it anew. As Abdul-Baha assures us, the supreme need of humanity is cooperation and reciprocity. The stronger the ties of fellowship and solidarity amongst men, the greater will be the power of constructiveness and accomplishment in all the planes of human activity. May we be the builders of that world. All praise and glory be to God, the Lord of all the worlds.